A very good question, I must say. A very good challenge. Please prove to me that God does not exist. Now, what essentially, to me at least, this challenge points out is that the existence or non-existence of God, before you can even start to debate it, it becomes a chicken and egg issue. What came first, atheism or theism? Who had the idea first, that there is no God or that there is a God? That's actually something that I don't think any of us will ever actually get to the bottom of. However, having said that, one of the interesting paradoxes of all of this is that we're quite used to actually saying to the religious people, why don't you give me some proof as to why I should believe this? Which is a completely fair objection, if you ask me. If you're going to tell me that your holy book or your faith or your system of worship or whatever is the correct one, well, why don't you explain to me why? Why don't you tell me why you believe that you know, God is up there, or that your faith is valid or whatever? That's a perfectly legitimate question to ask anyone who's trying to get you to believe in their point of view, or not even maybe getting you to believe in their religious point of view, but getting you to see it as legitimate. Now, that kind of argument works both ways, as you have pointed out. The atheist should actually be subjected to the same series of withering questions. Are you quite certain that there is no God? Can you prove to me that there is no God? This is a terrible position to be put in an argument, because you're trying to prove a negative. Now, that you really, I won't say that it's impossible, but it's very difficult to do. Because, well, the universe, as far as we understand it, is infinite. We don't really know what time and space are, so somewhere in all of that mass of whatever, you're saying that there is no God. There's probably no God. And again, this also fails to address the entire question of what you mean when you say God. Because the two sides generally have a very, very, very diametrically opposed vision as to what they're talking about. The atheist generally has the caricature of God, the big guy up there with the long white beard and the long white robes, and who is portrayed by his worshippers as a thoroughly benign being, merciful, wonderful, loving, that kind of thing, while in point of fact he's actually not very nice at all, allowing all kinds of horrible things to happen, having all kinds of almost impossible to follow rules. The theist, again, believes the opposite of that kind of thing, but his conception, to my knowledge at least, or my perception, is that God is much bigger than words can actually describe. God involves more than mere words. Therefore, they say things like faith, intuition, that kind of thing are necessary. All right, let's just assume that I'm the kind of person that doesn't really have any knowledge one way or another as to whether or not God exists or does not exist. In fact, I'm not even quite sure what you're talking about when you say God. So if I can get the two sides, the theist and the atheist, to agree among themselves as to what they're talking about when they want to discuss the issue of God, then we can go on to the existence or non-existence of such a thing, or such a being, or such a concept. Now, this is not such an easy thing to do. And the intellectual position of the atheist as a superior and more logical position, if you ask me, is based on fairly shaky ground. I won't say that the theist's ground is any less shaky, but Sammy has actually pointed out that the atheist's point of view is just as tenuous as that of the theist. So, where do we go from here? Well, how about, first of all, you each learn to understand that there are flaws in both your arguments. And that both of them, believe it or not, yes, Mr. Atheist, are based upon faith and leaps of faith, and possibly are heavily influenced by how you actually desire the universe to be. The atheist, for all I know, may have decided in advance that he doesn't want God to exist, therefore I'll think up an idea to prove that God does not exist, or a philosophy. Whereas the theist has decided he wants God to exist, then he goes looking for the proof. Both sides seem to have made their minds up in advance. Now, this doesn't say that one side is right or one side is wrong. What it does say, however, is that both sides are so busy flinging mud at each other that it's very difficult for a third party who actually is trying to get at what both sides are saying to actually figure out what is actually being debated. Thank you.